In our last video, we defined a function that resets our game. This will help us as we create the code that will determine the outcome of the game and declare a winner. Let's get started by making a new reveal result function that will reveal the results of the game. To determine the result, we need to figure out what block the player placed and what block the agent placed. We can log each of these results in a variable. Let's create variables and give them good names. Since we're going to be storing info about what blocks the player and the agent placed, we will need to make two new variables. We can click on the variables folder and make our new variables. One called player block and one called agent block. Every time we play the game, we need to set each of these variables to the choices that were made by the player and agent in order to determine the winner. Let's get the set variable block from the variables folder and add it to our reveal results function. This first one should be set to the player block function from the dropdown. We now need to give it a value. The value should be the same as the block the player placed below the agent. If we use the agent inspect block and set it to down, this will give the player block variable the block value for this playthrough. Let's duplicate this block, change the variable to agent block from the dropdown, and get the value by inspecting up, since that is where the agent places their choice. We've got the information about the player block and agent block. Now we need to apply the rules of our game to figure out the result. Because the player and agent each have 3 different blocks to choose from, there are 9 different possible combinations that determine a win, a loss, or a draw. When we describe the rules of our game, we might say, well, if the player has this, and the agent has that, then the result is... Does that mean we have to have 9 different if statements to cover each possibility? Not quite, because there is a generalization we can make to condense multiple possibilities into a single result. Let's simplify. When we describe the rules, we probably say, if the player and agent have the same thing, then it's a draw, which describes 3 of the 9 possible combinations. So let's start by coding that if statement. If player block is equal to agent block, then it's a tie. Let's get an if block from the logic folder and add it to our function. Next, let's add the equal block from that same folder. Now we can add the 2 variables showing that the player block and agent block are the same. Whenever this happens, we can use the title block from the gameplay folder to show some text to the player. In this case, it's a draw with a subtitle that tells the player to play again. Now that our gameplay code has covered the possibility of a draw, we will continue with the remaining outcomes in our next video.